Welcome back to another episode of Kenan and Kel with Adam and Aaron. My name is Aaron.
My name is Adam.
And this week we'll be reviewing an episode in Season 2. I forget which number it is, but it's called The Crush. And no, we don't mean orange soda. We mean lovey-dovey, Hallmark kind of crush.
Which is worth noting because the show is all about orange soda. The show being Kenan and Kel from the 90s Nickelodeon.
Yes, so this week we'll be dealing all with crushes, with emotions, with the with love. Love is in the air this week.
Yeah, it is. In the middle of November, December.
Yes. So Thanksgiving is around the corner for us. When you're listening to this, maybe Thanksgiving has already happened. Actually, indeed it has. But that doesn't mean we can't have a little love story.
Hallmark's a good way to put this
episode.
It's got some Hallmark vibes.
Hallmark vibes, indeed. I wish Kenan and Kel came back and did a Hallmark movie with them. Because usually Hallmark movies don't have too strong like lead characters. There's always like the lead character and then like the side character.
You'd probably be just exploring the Kai-Raquel relationship now that they're both, of dateable age.
It's possible. Or perhaps the relationship between Kenan and his new romantic interest this episode.
Oh, also with time could get better. But let's stop teasing it and happily sit down with Coolio on the big orange couch. I want to say something about the theme song this week, which I think is worth mentioning. You shared a wonderful video with me, and I'll post it on our Twitter, of Kel doing a dramatic reading.
Oh, yeah.
Of the Kenan and Kel lyrics. And I love the part that really, I'm like, oh, this is perfect, because there's a part that I never fully understood. There's some lyrics that Coolio has that are lost on me, and Kel will clear it up. And in the video itself, Kel gets confused by what Coolio is trying to say.
Which really says something, because we're watching the Kenan and Kel television program, as Kenan calls it often, including this episode, and they don't even know what the theme song says. So leave it to Coolio, like a professional rapper who made a rap for this TV show about two African American dudes in Chicago, like in high school.
Yeah, and no one has an idea of what he's talking about when he says, I'm trying to remember the line. It's double K like 2 to get greatness.
Oh, it literally doesn't make sense.
Or like 2 the good gradius, or like no one knows what it means or what it says.
I'll dig up and make a file on like a Google sheet of all of the videos of Coolio singing the song, and maybe we can like listen to them enough where we can parse out what he's saying.
I like that plan. It's our responsibility, of course, on this show. We want to leave no stone unturned when it comes to Kenan and Kel.
We're gonna have an episode where we unpack every word of that song and its etymology.
Oh man. Does the double K refer to Kenan and Kel? Or twice the L?
Where does the name Kenan come from? No. Okay, so anyways, we begin this Kenan and Kel television program.
Kenan's wearing a classic layered look from the 90s. He's got a shirt, an open flannel, and then on top of that, all that, a leather jacket.
Yep, it looks like Halloween is approaching, right? We got Halloween colors on Kenan, and Kel has blue with a maroon stripe. Like,
yeah, he's got a Babalu blue shirt.
Babalu blue plaid hat.
So they kick off the program with what's the first thing that they do? I have here that Kenan calls Kel Bubble Boy.
Yep. Or maybe I think he calls him either Bubble Boy or Bubble Bath. Or so there's a dialogue back and forth here about a bubble bath.
They take some questions from the studio audience.
Yeah, that's the main gimmick for this intro. So the first question, Adam, would you like to kick us off?
Yeah. How did you come up with the name for Kenan and Kel?
And they are as confused as you are. It's like they're like, really? Like, why did you ask such a silly question? Kenan's like,
yeah.
Well, those are our names. And she goes, oh, what a coincidence, and sits down.
Yep. And the second one, which kind of which sets a little seed going into this episode about do you two have any girlfriends?
And everybody goes, ooh.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And when they say no,
Yeah.
and they make a mistake,
Yeah, Kenan goes, or is it Kel or Kenan?
I think Kel.
Kel goes, why? Is anybody interested? And it's like, ah!
A deafening scream from all the ladies in the audience.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, they're two cuties up there, you know?
That's right. That's right. They're two good-looking young fellas.
And Kenan says a line that's meant for, like, one or two people, which is like, we'll talk after the show.
Yep.
But,
Gonna,
like, all of them. Every single one.
Talk to everybody after the show. Kenan is a ladies' man and a people pleaser. And last but not least...
Believe it or not, this is neither myself or Aaron in the audience, but he is asking a Kenan and Kel Aaron like approved question.
Yeah, it got the stamp of approval, verification.
So he says, "Do you guys already know what's going to happen in tonight's show?" Like kind
Great
of
question.
implying like, yeah, how meta is what you're doing right now?
Yeah, like you clearly know you're on the Kenan and Kel television program, right? You're on stage introducing an episode of the show. Do you know what's going to happen? Well, Kel's like, I don't know what's going to happen. And Kenan's like, I know what's going to happen. And we finally find out how Kenan gets the scoop.
He has sneaked, as he says, into the producer's office to read the script.
Which is such a Kenan thing to do.
Absolutely. It's a real plan or a plot to understand what's going on.
He's always trying to be in the know, that Kenan. And we're grateful for it.
Yeah, we're very happy that he knows and Kel does not. Kel does not. He asks for it, and Kenan refuses to tell him and, shuffles off stage.
That's right. So we enter into our scene 1, and we're not at Rigby's, and we're not at the Rockmores. We're at... Is this a new set, or have we seen...
I think it is. The hallway outside the classroom.
This is the hallway, right? So Kenan is opening up his locker. He has a bottom locker.
Yeah, yes, which is very unfortunate. Were you ever did you ever have one of those?
I did. Senior year, I had a bottom locker.
Oh no, not senior year.
That was the senior year. Yep, I looked like a freshman.
Yeah, that's not fun. So yeah, he's pulling out some books and stuff for class, and Kel sneaks up around him, is behind him, and says "boo," causing him to slam his head on the top of it.
Yep. Which, I mean, that's his own fault. Why is he all the way in the locker? Like, how deep are those things?
What's he trying to get out of there?
A good gimmick, nonetheless.
And then Janet comes up behind them, and you were reminded of their school nemesis.
Yes, Janet, like the Mindy Crenshaw of Kenan and Kel.
Exactly. She says that they both look effervescent.
Effervescent.
Yep. And I also, that phrase I want to call attention to. Look, is it effervescent like a smell?
I looked it up already, Adam. Would you like me to tell you the definition?
Please.
I have it right here. Effervescent. Adjective of a liquid giving off bubbles. Fizzy. 2. Vivacious and enthusiastic. I don't know if I said that first, the V word, right? But
No, okay, so it's the second definition. But for Kel, it could also definitely be the first definition.
bubbly because orange soda.
Yes.
Correct.
Janet has bothered them because Kel owes her $3. Kel turns over into his locker, cracks it open, and a bunch of orange soda cans and bottles fall out of it. Because he loves orange soda, as he explains.
And she's like, "Oh, you do." I think she says it in a very condescending. And then she says, "I find orange soda icky."
To which those are fighting words for Kel.
Kel's like, "What? What'd she just say about? Don't you disrespect orange soda?" Yeah. So, anyways, but we did find out something about Janet, which is kind of nice. We found out that she is willing to lend people who she doesn't necessarily like that much $3.
Yeah, and Kel, he paid her back, which is good on Kel.
Yeah, good citizenship right here.
Yeah.
Helping each other out.
1 second here.
Oh,
I forgot to do that earlier. A little orange Zevia.
That drink sounds very effervescent, Adam.
Oh, thank you. It is. It's not icky. I don't know what Janet was talking about.
Janet is on some other level. Well, anyways, class is about to start, and Janet asks them if they finished their book reports.
They are very startled by that question because Kel told Kenan that they weren't due until Wednesday.
And I suppose it's
Tuesday or Monday?
Monday or Tuesday. Yep. So Kenan is instantly mad at Kel.
Yes. Hey, Kel says, I got confused.
You were born confused. Sorry.
Yeah. He also, Kel has a plan of his own to make up a book report. And Kenan explains that's impossible. You need to at least read a few pages. And he calls him an Igmo.
Yes.
Do you know what that's short for?
No.
Igmoranus.
Which
is like it's like a moron in a sense.
Well, that is a big word.
Yeah. I think Dan Schneider was trying to get that to catch on in the 90s, calling people Igmo.
That's pretty funny. Well, it's clear that, that word would probably only come if you're reading books a lot and you see that word. But Kenan clearly is not reading books.
Maybe he only read the first part of the word.
That's also possible.
Yeah, right. So, worth mentioning, this episode is written by Dan Schneider, which I definitely see that because the kind of romantic plot lines that are about to ensue kind of remind me a lot of his like Zoe 101 material and stuff like that.
I didn't even think of that show. Did he write that show too?
I think he played part in it. Yeah, it's part of his canon, I guess.
The canon of Dan Schneider. Could you imagine if somebody makes a Dan Schneider Bible? It's like just like all of his shows, the transcripts of every episode of every one of his shows.
Oh yeah, people are. Hey, we're fans of his earlier work. Maybe not the person.
Yeah, nope. Definitely not Angus.
No, this is not some Angus material. Funny that you mentioned that though. Last season, we had the episode where Dan Schneider guest starred as Angus. He played a character on it for an episode. And right at that same part of this season, we have a guest star that's another big name in the show's production.
Right. And we'll get there in just about 30 seconds. Right? So,
yes. So
we walk in, Kenan and Kel take their seat in the classroom that is not socially distanced or COVID appropriate.
No, this is not as. It's also the same set as the Spanish classroom.
It's the same set, but I just want to highlight the chairs are so close together. Like not even.
Yeah.
It looks like when you are cleaning a classroom and you push all the chairs to like one side. It's kind of what it looks like.
It does. I understand it because of the way that it's a stage.
Of course, I'm just pointing it out.
Yeah, you need enough space on the side for Kel to run back and forth and do crazy things. But so their teacher, Mrs. Lufa, is not there, and instead there is a substitute.
Yep, the substitute walks in, and it is a young woman, wearing a pantsuit and short hair.
She writes her name on the board as Miss Horn and introduces herself as the substitute teacher.
Yes. Now, of note, Miss Horn is played by Kim Fields Freeman, who is also a director on this show.
Worth mentioning, nowadays she just goes by Kim Fields. So that'll save us a couple syllables for the rest of the episode.
Good. Yeah, I feel like Michael in the episode of of The Office. Jan Levinson Gould. Oh, no Gould? What happened to the Gould? No.
Yeah. And I have awesome things to say about her throughout this episode because she does a great job. I'll say.
Yeah. Oh, it's wonderful.
While she is directing the episode, nonetheless.
Multi-talented.
So yes, she explains that Mrs. Lufa is not going to be with them for a little bit because she. What's she up to?
She checked into a mental facility.
Yes, teaching was a little too stressful for her. And when Miss Horn says that, everyone looks at Kenan.
As a brand new teacher, she is very justified. Miss Lufa is justified in checking into the mental hospital because she's too stressed out. I can relate.
Yeah. I would also like to say that in our time growing up, I certainly know some teachers that could have used a vacation.
Yep. That's an understatement.
Yeah, so she sees that on her schedule, her agenda, that it's time for book reports, and she asks who wants to go first.
Two people in the back of the room raise their hand, but not before Kel is trying to hide under his desk. He falls off, knocks the desk like on the corner of the room, and is trying to make himself very small.
It does not work. He's drawn more attention to himself with these antics.
Miss Horn picks him.
Yep. What do you think? How do you think Miss Horn is as a effective substitute teacher? She seems to get down to business, right?
Well, she didn't take roll. And
that is important.
And I mean, we don't know anything about how the class is going to run the next 3 weeks.
I will say that in the crowd of kids in this classroom, some looked around Kenan and Kel's age, but some also looked very young.
Yep, some looked very, very young.
There's like a baby-faced boy behind Kenan.
Yep, that's what I was thinking.
Kel goes to the front of the room and tries to do a book reports without a book. And what happens?
He runs out the door. Which I like. I would love if I gave that to a student and they had to stand up and present and they ran out of the room. I would be so excited. I'm like, that's awesome.
Yeah, this is a good day.
That would be so funny. Anyway, so Miss Horn's kind of like confused. She's like, what? And so Janet's basically like, don't worry about him. I'll go. So Janet stands up in the front of the classroom with the book. Do you want to read the title to us, Adam?
Women Better Than Men by Margaret Gruff.
So she begins this eloquent presentation about the book, just flipping through the pages and blah, blah, blah. And we cut, it does like the blur pan to the classroom sleeping. Everybody's asleep, even Miss Horn. And Janet finishes, and we learn to find out that it was about 45 minutes long.
Yeah, it was she basically took all the time of the class. But she does not enough time for Miss Horn to call on Kenan to give his report.
So Kenan goes up to the front of the room and does his spiel like he's on stage. He's like, my name is Kenan. I like sports and movies and spaghetti. Who here likes spaghetti?
Kel has been brought back into the classroom.
Right. I forgot that part.
By Principal Dimley.
Making a return.
Yeah, nice little cameo here. He was apparently hiding in a tree.
Yep.
He's covered with like twigs and branches and stuff like that.
I want to know what Principal Dimley's rounds look like. Does she go outside and like look in trees? How did she find him? But anyways.
Yeah. So as Kenan's stalling for time, he's like, I read a book, and then Kel says, what's the name of the book? just to throw him off. The bell rings, fortunately.
Yes, the bell rings after Kenan had stalled significantly. Like he was up there just.
It was an effective filibuster.
Yes, he did a great job. So everybody leaves the classroom, and as Kenan's about to leave, he's the last one, and Miss Horn closes the door.
Yeah, she stops him. I also think it's worth mentioning that for some reason this episode, Kenan, like in this beginning scene, he just has a football. He like got it out of his locker, and he's just like thumbing with it and hanging on to it.
Yep.
Even during the presentation. So Miss Horn calls Kenan out on his nonsense.
Yep, she's like, you didn't do this, did you? And he was like, no. And that was basically it.
Yeah, she's like, I just want you to be honest with me. Do it read a book for tomorrow, which Kenan doesn't like, but he's like, all right, that's fair. Thanks for not giving me a 0. Mm-hmm.
Miss Horn says, I want our relationship to get off on the right foot. Kenan goes, right foot, left foot, So I just thought that was funny. Worth noting.
Yeah.
So Kenan goes down to pick up his backpack that he dropped, and he hurts his back.
Yeah. To his diagnosis, he pulled his gluteus maximus.
That's right. So Miss Horn lets him know that her father is a chiropractor, and she can help him fix his back.
And he replies, that's his learning, not yours.
Which is my favorite Kenan line ever.
That's amazing. Yeah.
I'm totally going to use that.
It's appropriate, too. Because, you're not a chiropractor. What are you doing?
That's right, yeah. One time in college, like, my friends were hanging out, and this one girl was trying to crack somebody's back. Like, she's like, I go to the chiropractor. I'm like, so what? You're playing with somebody's spine.
That's his learning, not yours.
Right. You can't just, like, oh, yeah, I had this done to me. It's like, you can't do that.
Yeah, that's not how information gets transferred to people.
You could paralyze somebody forever.
Yeah, you got to be careful. So as she's giving Kenan a hug and fixing his back, Kel looks in through the window and is aghast at the sight.
Yeah, all he sees is Miss Horn giving Kenan a hug from behind.
He thinks the worst, that something's afoot.
That's right.
So left foot, right foot.
Afoot.
Like, we go to the next scene.
Well, yep, we head to Rigby's after that long opening scene, but very good. And Kel is basically harassing Kenan, telling him about how Miss Horn likes him.
Yeah. He's really on his case. He says that I can tell she likes you. And Kenan's response to that is, you can't even tell time.
And Kel doesn't really know what to say.
Yeah, Kel doesn't deny that.
Nope.
He says, don't change the subject.
Mm-hmm. It goes on to, like, Kenan's cleaning around Rigby's and getting everything in order, and Kel's just keeps it going. Kenan's got a girlfriend. Kenan's got a girlfriend, which he repeats 7 times.
As Kenan's, like, stocking the meats and stuff in Rigby's. So he points a pepperoni threateningly at him, and he says, "You're gonna have a pepperoni in your nose to keep yapping." Yeah. So I like this dynamic, because usually, like, I'm thinking of the orange soda episode, where Kel was really just kind of tortured by everyone.
Yep.
For his problem that he has.
Right, his addiction.
Like, teasing Kenan for something, like, this is definitely very common.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm sure you've seen that as a student, or as a teacher, maybe.
Both. Yep, you tease your friends. That's what you see, for sure. So, yeah, Kel's basically just, like, picking on him, and he's like, "No, Kenan, you do have a girlfriend. I know females." And Kenan goes, "She's not a female, she's a teacher." She says, like, phenomenal. And he's like, "It's not possible for a woman in her 20s to like me," or something like that.
Yeah, she said. He says, "She's like what, in her 20s? She's all old."
And even they, like, know the irony of that, because they're basically, probably when they're doing this, they're basically probably like 20.
I remember the line from earlier when Kenan was dating, like, his dad's boss, his daughter.
Right.
And he said, my dad's married. He doesn't know anything about love.
Yeah. Just the childhood innocence shining through.
Yeah, the same joke as that. So Chris comes out, and they have a couple questions for him. Have him weigh in on the topic.
Which is a great idea, because Chris is a bright guy.
Yeah. Unfortunately, he doesn't seem to have the experience
Nope.
that they need. They
ask Chris, like, Did you ever have did any woman who was older than you ever have a crush on you? And he was like, "No." And then Kel's like, "Well, then I guess younger women have had crushes on you, right?" He's like, "Well, no." It's like, "Well, Chris, what kind of women like you?" He's like, "Stop asking questions. Get back." Like, or something. And he just rushes to the back room.
I think it's the all that we see of Chris this episode too,
which is a great little bit.
Yeah, he's got trouble with women, unfortunately. The scene's not over.
No, it's not.
Because they're getting another opinion from the regular in the shop, of course, Miss Ethel Quagmire.
Yes, so when these episodes were recorded, as Amazon says at least, right, Miss Quagmire had not won the lottery yet. But then, in the Wikipedia list, this episode comes after Miss Quagmire wins the lottery.
Yeah, might lead to some credence to that order. I think I've got a proper order why Amazon lists them that way. We'll get into that in a few. But yeah, so Miss Quagmire comes in asking for some hot sauce. And I guess she's feeling spicy today.
She's always feeling spicy. She's wanted hot sauce before. Like, she came in. She came into Rigby's and specifically wanted hot sauce. She must be a hot sauce lover. So Cal's like, "Oh, let's ask Mrs. Quagmire. Mrs. Quagmire, have you ever been interested in younger men?" And as he reaches up to grab the hot sauce, which is above her, and help her out, and she quickly grabs his arm and holds it so that he's like, his arm's like wrapped around her.
And that is enough to, like, create a magnetic connection between the pair of them. And she begins chasing him around Rigby's.
Yes, they. She is chasing them around Rigby's. That's exactly what's happening. Like
you young rascal, you.
she's like sexually attracted to Kel instantly in that moment.
Which Kel does not want any of that and is chased around the squashes and out the door by her. and Kenan's watching like open mouth agape.
I must say, Adam, you're right about the squashes. This must be in the fall, right? Because they're in school. And there's squashes. Kenan's wearing flannels all the time. They have jackets on.
We're about to have Thanksgiving, too.
Football. He's got a football in his hand. It's got to be in the fall.
You're right. That's a real autumnal episode.
Yep.
Maybe that's why they really put it in September.
Yep.
They're like, we gotta hit that high note of the season.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. Anyway, so Kel is rushed out the door with a bottle of hot sauce. Adam, make sure you get that for the end of season tally.
It's on the count.
Yes. So that is,
we have a very quick, very short scene back in the classroom.
But effective.
Effective, yeah. The next day, we cut to Kenan giving his reports on a book. What's the book called?
I would be amiss to say that I know what the book is called.
Oh, you're doing the filibuster? I'm the Kel in the audience. What's the name of the book?
I don't know. Let me stall some more. The book that I chose to do was a very fine book.
Yeah, it's called The Lost Jewels.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, which sounds like the Pearl, like it's a John Steinbeck story.
It does sound like that, yeah.
Yeah, it's about a guy who's, I guess, struggling to find jewels, but really struggling to find himself, according to Kenan's report. So I'm proud of Kenan. He did it. He was working that day too, but after that he read a book and gave a verbal assessment of it.
That's right. That's where he went to the library and found some Spark Notes.
Yeah. And I do want to say that today, the following day, Kel is wearing his phenomenal green leprechaun outfit.
Yeah, so what this is basically a triple XL polo shirt. The sleeves go down below his elbows. And it's
tucked into his pants.
It's tucked in, and the sleeves are just about the same exact length as the shirt when it's tucked in. And it's like silky. So it probably smells bad if he's not wearing deodorant.
Yeah, and it's more green than like an Irish flag.
Yep, exactly. So Kenan gives this presentation, and everybody gives him a round of applause because people seem to like Kenan, right? They like this presentation.
He's a funny guy.
He's a funny guy. He's a people pleaser. He's one of those guys that you want to cheer on, right? That's how I feel. At least if I was like his classmate, I'd be like, yeah, nice job, Kenan.
I'd be impressed after he definitely didn't do it the other day and stalled the whole time.
Yeah. Well, after his presentation, Miss Horn takes a moment to say how great Kenan's presentation was.
Yeah, and Kel is really kind of rubbing it in. You see he's getting a bunch of more ammo for his upcoming teasing.
Yeah, one of the things she says is how it touches her heart, how it is such a well-done presentation where it really got to the heart of the story, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so that's it for the scene. We go right back to Rigby's.
Yeah, so really quick scene. There's a lot of quick scenes this second half of this episode. In Rigby's, which is our next scene, Kel is drinking an orange soda and, again, harassing Kenan.
Oh, yeah. Tease him some more. Kenan tells him to shut his big bazoo. And he's like, all right, he says very clearly to Kel that Miss Horn doesn't pay any more attention to me than anyone else in that class.
Ding, ding. As the door to Rigby's opens. Oh, hi, Kenan.
It's Miss Horn. The other day when Kenan mentioned that he hurt his back, he said that he hurt his back lifting stuff at Rigby's.
That's right.
So that's she's like, you said the other day you worked at Rigby's, so I came by to pick up some kitty litter.
Meanwhile, Kel is very suspicious.
Oh yeah, Kel is like really intrigued in what's going on here.
I mean, think about it. She thought about Kenan enough to stop by the store he works at to get kitty litter when she's never been there before.
No.
That's what she mentioned.
And not only that, yeah, she has a different request as well.
Yeah, so after she checks out, $4.19. Hope you got that. Oh, no, you don't have to account for everything that Rigby's does or sells. Sorry.
If kitty litter is destroyed later on, we know how much it costs.
That's right. We do indeed. $4.19, which seems to be a good deal, but that's besides the point. Miss Horn asks Kenan to please stay after school tomorrow. And Kenan's like, okay, but why? And what's the reason, Adam?
She needs a, hang on, I have it right here. She could use a tall, strong man.
As she walks away and almost like winks at him.
Yeah, which is a very causes. Well, first when she first asked, it causes Kel to spit out his orange soda.
Oh yeah,
which you know it's bad when Kel's spitting out orange soda.
I can't believe we didn't even highlight that more. Yes, she's like, Kenan, I need you to stay after school tomorrow. And Kel goes, whoosh, spitting it out. It's very, very apropos.
And after she says, big strong man, Kel is just shouting, I told you! And Kenan's had so much of him until now that he tackles him on the counter.
He's just over it. Which is good, because usually Kenan's the one, making everybody else frustrated. So it's nice to see the favor returned.
That's the neat thing about when it's Kenan being teased. He will retaliate, like, physically. As we're about to see in the next scene, too.
Probably because Kenan is insecure.
Oh, yeah,
from a
absolutely.
Psychological standpoint. Yep.
Yeah, and he doesn't have a good coping mechanism for this.
No, he picks on other people, and then when he gets picked on, he responds with aggression. That's a telltale sign of some insecurities.
I'm happy he's like the class clown and not like some kind of bully.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's just some kind of like verbal back and sparring with Janet. But she kind of deserves it a little bit.
Kenan is definitely like one of the largest people in the room. It's just
yeah, it's also probably because he's like 19, 20
yeah,
at this time.
that's why I pointed it. Yeah, he's definitely older than everybody else.
Cut to commercial. Afterwards, we go to the we head to the Rockmores at dinner time.
So Kyra, Mr. and Mrs. Rockmore are seated at the table. Kenan and Kel enter through the back door, and Kel has asked Kenan a slew of questions.
Yep, he's including, can I be the best man at your wedding?
Yep, are you guys going on a honeymoon?
And finally, and the line that makes Kenan like kind of crack up a little bit is when you have kids, can they call me Uncle Kel? And then he does this like very weird voice.
He's like, "Hi, Uncle Kel," something like that.
Do that funky dance, Uncle Kel.
That's pretty good. That is exactly what it sounded like. I feel like you practiced that.
It's not. It's one of my voices, like I'd say. I don't know if it's a child's voice though. But yeah, and then immediately his parents get the vibe and start grilling him about his new girlfriend too.
Yep. They're like, "Oh, tell us about your little snuggle bunny." They're actually like excited and kind of like playing into it. So it's
Snuggle Bunny is funny because I think that's what Mrs. Rockmore called Mr. Rockmore in college when they first started dating.
That's right. We found that out. Kenan and Kel fact. And Kenan's quick to say, "I don't have a girlfriend,"
which causes them to torment him some more. So something really funny with Kel happens in this bit. After all his questions, Kenan like shoves him out the back door. And then as he says, "I do not have a girlfriend," like you said, he comes in through the other door.
Yep. He walked all the way around the house, walked in the front door.
Yeah, there Cheryl pulls aside a chair for Kel to get him to spill the beans about this girl.
And he's like, "Tell us all about her." And it's like, "Does she go to your school?" and Kenan, Kel's like, "Yeah, you could say that." It's like, "Oh,
is she in your class?"
Technically.
Yeah, he's real mad about that, Kenan. And they all, Kyra starts the chant that they all pick up on, which is, Kenan's got a girlfriend, Kenan's got a girlfriend.
And then the greatest moment of retaliation so far in Kenan and Kel. They're all chanting at the table with, their food on the table, they're sitting, they're eating their dinner. And Kenan grabs the hose on the sink, like, the spray hose, and sprays them all out of the kitchen.
Yeah, which is awesome.
It's so good.
Because it feels good because they deserve it.
They do deserve it. But also...
Yeah, it would feel... If they were innocent, it'd be, like, crazy, but... No, yeah, they were asking for it, and he delivers. So very cathartic.
What's funny is they don't find out that it is the substitute teacher and not one of their classmates.
Yeah. It's I find Kenan's relationship with the situation very, it's complicated. Because he's very much, in, saying, he doesn't, I think he has some respect for the teacher.
Yeah.
Maybe more than others, because she, didn't just give him a 0.
Yep.
But he doesn't seem to have a romantic connection to her at all.
Well, I think probably not, because you're not supposed to have one with the teacher.
Right.
And
that's the type of thing that he's grappling with.
I also think there's the possibility of what if she does have a crush on him. He's like, would that be the worst thing in the world, or would it be kind of cool? Would it inflate his ego a little bit, being like, oh yeah, you could get older women.
And that's the exact tune that he goes into his sleep with.
Yeah, exactly. So we jump to Kenan's bedroom, where he's seated on his bed with his doggy pajamas on, and he's talking, and the phone rings, and he answers.
It's Kel, who just keeps saying, Kenan's got a girlfriend, and he hangs up on him.
Yep, and Kenan's, getting ready, snuggling into bed. He's like...
He says, teacher having a crush on me, maybe in my dreams, and then immediately, actually he's knocked out. Yeah, just instant. That's a good little joke.
Yep, so... What is this dream, Adam? Well, here we go. Another Kenan and Kel dream. Just adding the layers.
There's been so many of them.
Adding layers to the dream saga.
Yeah.
It is. I think it's great, because it's like the dreams of a high school boys, right?
It allows the show to be a little more cartoony than it might be able to on its own.
That's right.
So
yeah, did Drake and Josh ever have
dreams like this?
A dream sequence?
I want to say yes. I do not know exactly which one. I know that Josh imagined his teacher as a fairy as he was not playing any video games.
Right.
You remember? Press B to save me, Josh. Press B.
Oh boy.
So in this dream, speaking of teacher dream, Miss Horn is singing in the classroom. It's kind of very foggy and spookily, kind of romantically lit, I'd say. Kenan enters into the space
wearing a tuxedo.
Yes. Which makes you realize how you said it earlier. Kenan's the biggest one in this classroom. He looks like kind of like Kingpin in this giant suits.
And the classroom looks infinitely smaller.
Yeah,
the classroom looks like a shoebox to him.
The chairs, as you said, are kind of all arranged on the side of the room.
This time, yes.
Yes.
And you know how when you have a dream, you're kind of just in a situation, and your dream self knows what you're doing.
Yeah.
But you don't know how you know what you're doing.
Yep.
That's definitely Kenan, because Kenan walks into the classroom with a mission.
Oh yeah.
In this dream.
And he immediately wants to get close with Miss Horn.
So he reaches out his hand, extends his arm almost, and then she stands up to reveal that she's wearing a dress, like a gown.
Which is, I don't know about you, but I don't think I've ever smelt a thing in my dream. I don't think that's the sense I have.
Ah, interesting. Yeah, it's new fragrance. Yes, it's called Sniff Me, which is kind of just weird and gross.
Yeah, it's not very. Even if you put that in cursive, it doesn't look fancy. It doesn't sound fancy.
No.
But they do a little. The music begins, and they do a little tango. Across the
which is
room.
just the first time I saw this. I'm sure I saw it when I was younger, maybe, but when I saw it recently, oh my gosh, this was hysterical. Here is Kenan in his dream dancing with the substitute teacher who he has a crush with. It's just so funny.
I want to say that compared to was it Drinking Orange Rain? This is so much better.
That must have cost so much money, the Orange Rain one.
Yeah.
And it was so bad.
They tripped on the vocals. Like I think the rest of it was fairly okay, but this one it played within its like to its strengths of the scene. It didn't extend its reach, and I think they did some real, it was some good choreography. They do the thing with the rose, picking up off the desk.
Yep, they're dancing the whole tango, doing spins and doing lifts.
The camera work is awesome too.
Yeah, it is. It's fantastic.
It's like floating right above them, and all these angles they don't normally see.
Mm-hmm. They both have this serious look on their face, like eyebrows raised, or like, like a dancer would. It's pretty good. And Miss Horn lets Kenan know, "You're quite a dancer," and he responds, "You're quite a woman."
And he drops to a knee and says, "Would you join me for dinner?"
She says, "I'd rather just marry you."
And he's going, "All right then." Which is a fun bit.
She goes, "Oh, Kenan." He goes, "Oh, Miss Horn."
Yeah.
Oh, Kenan. Oh, Miss Horn.
Yeah, and it transitions into Kenan waking up. And Kenan waking up is great because he's saying stuff like, "Oh, squeeze me." And
well, you know who's waking him up, right?
it's Kel.
Okay, good. I was going to say, is that one of those scenes that got cut out?
No.
No, yeah, so Kel is like, Kenan, and that's Miss Horn in the dream. And they basically say, we're going to be late for school. It's like, what? Late for school? It's the middle of the night. And no, it's not. It's time to go to school. So Kenan grabs his backpack and walks out. But he's still wearing his PJs.
It's a great comedic pause because they run out. Then a second later he comes back in. And he's like, "You're just gonna let me go to school in my pajamas, weren't you?"
Just throw me my pants. And then our transition to the next scene is a cartoon pair of pants with zippering up.
So yep, Miss Horn goes through is teaching a class, and the bell rings, ending it, and everyone files out.
Right, and remember, today is the day that Kenan's supposed to stay after school to help Miss Horn.
Yeah, Kel's really worried about it too, which I think he's good. Kel's concerned about Kenan, and that his relationship with this teacher is going too far. In Kel's mind, and so I think it's a very responsible thing to do as a friend. So he's like, I'm not letting you out of my sights.
That's right. So Miss Horn is basically like, "Okay, Kenan, can you get the step stool from the closet? We're basically just gonna hang up some pictures in this room," which she's substitute teaching for. So whatever. But
yeah, I had some more questions about that in a few, but
also, Adam, we have to mention that this is definitely 8th period.
Oh, you're right. 8th
because
period.
It's the end of the day.
Last one. So that's what she wants. She asks Kenan to do, and Kenan's like, "Oh yeah, cool." They go up. As they're throwing out the step stool inside, a ladder hits the window from outside, and slowly Kel ascends.
It's so funny. He's peeking up, seeing it. So Miss Horn climbs on the step stool, and she's got a hammer and nail, and she's about to hang in the nail, but she loses her balance.
Yeah, and Kenan's there to catch her.
Luckily.
But Kel sees this, and again, mouth wide open, he's like, "She's in his arms."
All he sees is them embracing each other. And so he loses it, so much so that he falls backwards.
Yeah, crashes with his ladder. Second attempt, she gets the hammer and nail from Kenan, and as she's going to do it, Kenan gets a little something in his eye.
It's kind of a weird moment in the show. It's a weird acting moment. He's like, "Oh, I have something in my eye." It's like, that's a weird, that seems like something they would practice in acting school, but I don't know. Yeah. It didn't seem like Kenan pulled it off too well.
And the director is right there. She's literally can give him direction from 1 foot away.
That's right.
And my guess, if I had to justify that, would say hammer, nail. They're probably with a toolkit. Maybe there's a bunch of sawdust nearby them, around them. You ever get that in your eye? It sucks. I'm not a fan.
That's right. Well, anyways, Miss Horn is like, "Oh my gosh, you got something in your eye. Let me check to see if it's okay." So Kenan's basically leaning forward, and she's kind of leaning back to see, get better light into Kenan's eye. But who's there to watch?
Kel's looking through the window at this event, and he sees them going close to each other.
He's looking through the window of the door going into the classroom.
Right. And seeing that, he has seen enough, and he shouts, "No!"
And he barges in and basically runs over to Kenan. He's like, "No, no, no!" And then he spanks Kenan away from Miss Horn towards the front of the room.
Yeah, which, that's a... I don't know if Kenan's the one to blame for that. That said, he's the one to spank. Like, he's the one that Kel can interact with that way.
That's right.
Yeah.
And as Kel is like slapping him away, Miss Horn is like, "What are you doing? Like, what's happening?" Kel goes, "He's just a boy."
Yep. Which is it goes right on my counter here of he's just a child. I'm just a child. It gets half a point.
Yes, a character in the show is just a insert type of child.
Kel has to shout it too.
Yes.
So that happens, and they slowly explain that everything that he saw was not true. It was a step stool, and he had something in his eye.
"I saw you two hug. What about the kiss?" Miss Horn's like, "There was no kiss."
And afterwards, he's kind of like, "Oh, and he says to Miss Horn, 'I'm sorry, I spanked your man.'"
"He's not my man." She gets all up in his face.
Yeah, everyone's really upset about that. So, then the scene ends. She explains, like, "Look, you're the student, I'm the teacher. I would not be dating you." What did she say exactly?
Kel is trying to cover his tracks, and he goes, "I guess I should have known that a woman like you would never be attracted to a guy like Kenan." And Kenan's like, "Hey."
Yeah, and then all of a sudden there's a new voice in the scene. You hear guys say, "Hey, babe, are you ready?"
And this man looks like Kenan plus about 20 years.
Yep. He's standing in the doorway, wearing pretty much the same outfit that Kenan's wearing. Red and blue colors with like a brown jacket over it.
With the same hairdo.
Same hairdo,
same build.
Same shoe style. 20 years is a lot. Maybe I'd say like plus 10.
Okay, plus 10. Yeah. And Miss Horn is basically like, "Oh, Kenan, Kel, you should meet my boyfriend."
It's my boyfriend Kevin.
Kevin, yeah.
And that's how the episode ends, with Kenan like awkwardly shaking his hand and Kel like looking back and forth at them because they're clearly look the same.
Right, which almost confirms the fact that maybe Miss Horn did have a crush on Kenan.
Yeah, maybe she likes Kenans or guys whose names start with K and N.
Right. Anyways, an ironic ending to a pretty darn funny episode.
Yeah, so the back on stage, we have a pretty great moment here of Kenan and Kel come out, and they would like to give a special thanks to their guest star, who also directed the show, Kim Fields. And Kim Fields Freeman, yep. She comes out on stage, and everyone's like cheering for her, and Kenan passes her a bouquet of flowers. As you do on like a theater night, you know.
Yep. She takes the flowers and says like, "Oh, thanks," and then she basically goes right back behind stage.
Yeah, which seems like she was being very bashful. Which it was probably the most genuine moment ever on the show. I imagine she was surprised by the flowers.
It's possible.
Yeah, because as she leaves, like Kenan and Kel are kind of like chasing her behind in front of the curtain. They're like, "Where are you going?" Like. A little bit.
It could have been. Oh, but she also directed the episode, so.
Oh, she's got work to do. She's got to direct the next moment here.
Maybe. That's right. Maybe. Yeah. So, anyways, I wonder what it would be like to be in the studio audience. Like, I bet you see the director a lot.
I feel like we have it in our capability to interview someone that saw Kenan and Kel.
Maybe the woman who left the Amazon review.
Yeah, right.
Around the Christmas time, we'll be like, "Hey,"
because you're constantly just seeing people in those audiences. They're changing every episode, right?
That's right.
Yeah, and you might see a part of an episode. The numbers I think add up. That it's like if you went to Nickelodeon Studios in Orlando, Florida, in that era, then you may let us know. write into Kenan and Kel podcast at gmail.com, and we would love to talk to you to learn more about your experience.
We would love to hear from you. Anyways, Kel's basically like, man, you got to do that fun dance number this show. I didn't get to dance at all.
Oh, well, then Kenan's like, well, let's fix that. And he calls for music, grabs Kel close, and they begin. The same music plays, and they do some dances.
Yep. And they're dancing around a little bit. And they're both, they both have their right hand extended towards where they usually exit stage right. And Kel's like, where are we going? Kenan goes,
just follow my lead.
Kel goes, oh, here it goes.
which is great. Just a good energy to end the show on. It's not Kel being upset or frustrated.
Right. Right. Yeah. And again, good camera work here. It cuts from like the zoomed out TV one, like from, that sees the audience, to the up close one, and really good ending to a really good episode, as I just said. Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about this. So first, whose fault do you think this episode is? Kenan's or Kel's?
Kel's.
Absolutely.
Even though there's no big fallout, really. It was just like a misunderstanding.
Yeah, but the misunderstanding is like in his court.
Oh, for sure.
I also think that this is an episode that Kel's a little... he's not his true self, really. I mean, yeah, he's dumb and he teases Kenan, but it's not about him misunderstanding things.
That's right.
I take that back. It's all about him misunderstanding things, but in like a more like classic sitcom way.
Yes.
I want to talk about the episode real quick here about how I think it balanced things well with the teacher-student relationship.
Yeah.
I think in another light, or if they made some different decisions, that could be very bad. Like that's a bad territory, inappropriate relations with minors and stuff like that. But it was a reasonable approach. The substitute teacher angle. I think Kel's reaction was appropriate, right?
Yeah.
Although there's a little bit of some, I guess, victim blaming. Where he got really mad at Kenan for assuming that he followed through with it. When it's, I don't know, a little quid pro quo, both are at fault. It's tough to say.
I think I would like to push back against that a little bit. So being a teacher and also a substitute teacher on multiple occasions, yeah, basically, like, most of the interactions that Kenan and Miss Horn had were incredibly inappropriate.
You think so?
At least in today's day and age. Yeah, like cracking his back and
physically okay.
And
right.
helping him get something out of his eye and visiting him at his place of work. All of those are pretty unprofessional and definitely not close to the boundaries that are meant to be drawn between teachers and students.
Good to hear. I didn't want to falsely accuse or anything like that, so...
No, I mean, definitely today, but it probably was less strict back then, but still, it's like you don't want to be touching your students at all.
Yeah.
Like not even during the non-COVID world, like maybe a high five or something, but yeah.
It feels a little, and yeah, I don't want to point fingers here, but episode was written by Dan Schneider.
Yes.
Yeah.
But for the episode that it is, it's very funny.
Right. And we know that it's a sitcom format that they have set up for us.
Yes.
I think this episode was a great exhibition of Kim Fields.
Oh yeah.
I'd like to talk about her for a minute here because
sure.
As to what Kenan's point is, she all old. But I disagree with that. She all young because when this episode aired in September of 1997, she was 28 years old.
Wow, that's pretty young to be a TV show director.
Yeah. So I went over like kind of her history here. She was a child star on Good Times and Facts of Life.
Okay.
She had a catchphrase on, I think, one of the shows that was, you might recognize it. It's, "We're in trouble."
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's...
No way, that's their line.
Yeah, So, I think her being a director of the show has kind of brought that into its vernacular.
Oh, wow.
That's what they're referencing every time they do that. Is her younger role.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah, but not only that, she was an actress in her older years too, living single from 1993 to 1998. So while she was directing some of Kenan and Kel,
Wow.
so she was really just in doing all kinds of different work. She directed 27 episodes of Kenan and Kel, including like many of our favorites.
That's right.
So I just want to say that this episode is a really good kind of show achievement award for Kim Fields and the great work that she did.
And it's really fun. I mean, just like the fact that like Kenan and Miss Horn, of course, can't do anything, right? And he's just helping her out and being a good steward. And basically, like they do have this like romantic moment, but it's in Kenan's dream, which is and that moment is like where everybody shines because it's in a dream. So it's like, oh, you can have some fun with it. And so they have this great dance number, and it really, really was like the fog and the like the dance floor and the classroom, and it was really good.
Yeah, Kenan's very, I think I'd say, ambivalent about their relationship.
Absolutely.
Which I think is worthwhile because it hasn't happened to me personally, but I understand the vibe of having a crush on a younger teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I think it's worth. So I've got a theory about when this aired. So this episode, as we've said several times, and as we discovered accidentally recording this episode, aired on September 27th, 1997. And is kind of out of order with a lot of the rest of the series. The episode before this one aired on November 1st, and the one after it aired November 19th. So, earlier, do you remember me talking about the episode Hooky of Hey Arnold?
Yes.
When we were talking about Ditch the Afternoon. Same week, right?
Uh-huh.
So, in season 2 of Hey Arnold, there's another episode called Crush on Teacher.
What?
Which aired on November 5th, 1997.
What?
Yeah, and it's literally, the episode is, there's a substitute teacher in Arnold's class.
What the heck?
And they think that Arnold and Gerald, like, develop theories that, Arnold has a clear crush on her, and they think that she's, like, sending him signals and eventually inviting him over to her apartments, and so it's very, my theory is that they lined up for the episode on Hooky, and they're like, let's not do that again. Let's juggle up the order of these episodes. And they put this one earlier, so it's now the same week.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah. That was a fun connection that I found.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
I guess we don't even have to confirm that that's accurate. We can just say that it is because nobody is going to fact check us. And if they do, they should be on the show.
Yeah, do it live, please. The last thing I will say about the Amazon order is that it lines right up with there's seasons 1 and 2 of Kenan and Kel were printed on DVD, like for a limited release type thing. And the order that they are on those DVDs is the same order that they're on Amazon. So I think that order, it doesn't line up with the Wikipedia one, but that's what the distribution order is.
Gotcha.
So, all right, I did all my homework.
Thank you for sharing that.
That's my full book report. All right, let's get into the ratings of this episode. Okay, so IMDb has this episode rated at a 7.9, number 17 out of 62. So pretty high on the list. Out of 10 bottles of orange soda, what would you give this episode of Kenan and Kel?
Well, initially I wanted to give it a 10, and on the second watch, I think I'm going to give it a 9, because still really, really good, but I don't think it's quite as good as I had thought initially.
As a final note here, can you talk about your relationship as a substitute teacher? And
well,
did this have any of those vibes? Not the
substitute teaching is nowadays is basically like the assignment is online, and you just sit there and like babysit. You basically just make sure nobody's like throwing things at each other or like acting up. So you don't actually get to like teach stuff. But a long-term sub is different, so you would have to teach. But yep, you basically just like, yeah, hey, my name is Mr. Lemma, and I'm your sub today, and I'll take roll, and let's get rolling. And then they're like, you're a teacher. That's basically how it goes.
Yeah.
The one kid, like, he's like, I've never seen you before. You're a teacher here? I'm like, no, I'm just here because I want to be. I'm volunteering, and it's like, yes, dude, I'm here because I just have nothing else to do. It's like, no, I work here.
So yeah, great. Talking about so yeah, I was gonna give it a pretty decent score too, just because of how, in celebration of Kim Fields, I'm probably gonna give it an 8.5 bottles of orange soda.
All right.
Yeah, so we'll come back to that. I think the lottery is just a notch above it this season for me.
Gotcha.
So what episode are we talking about next week?
Next week, we have the celebration of Thanksgiving with the Turkey Day episode.
Yep. Kenan and Kel getting some Thanksgiving mayhem. Definitely one that you should all tune into, since it's some kind of season of giving by the time this airs.
That's right. That's right.
So thank you for joining us, Fantas, and I hope you have romantic dreams.
All right, everybody. Until next time. Here it goes.
Thank you for listening. You can send us an email at KenanandKelPodcast@gmail.com or leave us a voicemail at anchor.fm/KenanandKelPodcast. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all at Kenan and Kel Podcast.